This lesson covers the topics of professional boundaries and ethics. There are a number of items attached to this lesson. The first two attachments are codes of ethics from professional organizations for case managers. In addition to viewing this video, you are encouraged to download and review these ethical codes as a part of the lesson. The next three attachments are codes of ethics from major professional organizations: the American Counseling Association, the American Psychological Association, and the National Association of Social Workers. These are provided to you for your reference. The final attachment is a PDF copy of this slideshow that you can print for your use. Finally, to complete this lesson, you are required to complete the attached quiz with a passing score of at least 70%. We're going to start today with a discussion of professional boundaries. Boundaries in a therapeutic relationship are not boundaries that you can see, like the yellow line on the highway telling you not to cross over the line in order to avoid danger. These boundaries are invisible, but can be just as dangerous if crossed. To most people, having healthy boundaries in a therapeutic relationship comes naturally. It makes sense to most people that they should not have sexual relationships with their client, they should not be friends on social media, and they should not be exchanging gifts. Yet for some workers, this is still an issue, and boundaries are crossed and violated every day. The crossing of boundaries is always inappropriate and can harm our clients who may be too vulnerable at the time to understand that they're being taken advantage of. A therapeutic relationship is a close relationship between at least two people in which one person, the helper, is helping an individual, the client, change his or her life for the better. Essential elements in this kind of relationship include the worker remaining supportive no matter what the concerns of the client are. The worker also needs to avoid any judgments of the client and to treat the client with empathy, understanding, and acceptance. These are all basic skills in the helping professions, yet sometimes we forget that these skills must underlie every interaction that we have with our clients. I am fond of saying, we need to remember to treat our clients not as clients, but as people. There is a need for clear boundaries to protect the helping process and to keep the relationship professional. Boundaries protect clients from being taken advantage of due to their vulnerability in the process. The clarity of boundaries assures that the helping interactions focus on the client and not on the helper. In some ways, the client automatically trusts their helper as an authority figure. Although they may not trust the helper with all of their deep, dark secrets right away, there is a level of trust that the helper is not going to harm them. Helpers should know this and should take extra steps to let clients know that we will not take advantage of that trust and confirm that we will do everything in a manner that is beneficial to them in changing their life in the way they want to change. Therapeutic boundaries help our clients to feel safe. And finally, clear boundaries are based on good decision-making skills, which helps the helper to make clear ethical decisions, which we will talk about later. Healthy boundaries allow a person to have high self-esteem, be assertive, and make good decisions. Healthy boundaries leave a person feeling good after the helping interaction. We all have that nagging feeling or instinct that tells us when something is not quite right. We need to listen to our instincts and follow clear guidelines to make absolutely sure no boundary violations are being made. Unhealthy boundaries occur when the attention to the helper role begins to break down. just as the fence in the picture has begun to break down. One way to avoid unhealthy boundaries when working with a client is to ask ourselves the following questions when working with the client. The first question, how would what I am doing be viewed by my colleagues, family members of the clients, or my own family and friends? Am I giving this particular client special treatment that other clients are not receiving? Am I comfortable writing about this interaction in the progress notes in full detail? And finally, is what I am doing for the benefit of the client or for my own benefit? One of the significant boundary violations is self-disclosure, when it is given too much from the helper to the client. Clients do not need to know everything about us in order to have a good therapeutic relationship. Information given to the client should be to help the client in their process of healing. Inappropriate self-disclosure is when we share information about ourselves that does not benefit the helping process. A final rule to discuss: when in doubt, don't do it. If there is ever any question about whether or not to do something with a client, wait until you have a clear answer before proceeding. Ask for help from other professionals, get feedback from your supervisor, or check the legal ramifications of your behavior. The key is to think first, double-check the right response, and then act. The client's health and well-being are far too important. As a helper, make sure that boundaries are set in the beginning of the therapeutic relationship so that there is no confusion at any point in the process. One important boundary to set in our work with others are the rules that we establish for how to contact us or someone else in various situations. First, we want to be clear to tell our clients what numbers to call in a crisis situation. It is important to provide all of our clients with a list of numbers to call. Otherwise, our clients may try to contact us and only us. Numbers that we should make available to our clients include our office number, an after-hours answering service, other 24-hour call centers, and the number for emergency services. Second, we want to refrain from giving out our personal contact information. Telling clients to contact us at all hours and giving out our personal cell phone number, email, or address may lead to an unprofessional dynamic. It also may cause your client to lose faith in you if for some reason you do not answer the phone or you cannot help. Always provide a professional work email, phone number, and the office location for our clients to use to contact us. Finally, and I'm going to talk more about this later, we need to protect our privacy on social media. Our clients will find us, and they will likely be tempted to friend us. Interacting with our clients in this context is a breach of professional boundaries. To prevent our clients from finding us online, make sure that our privacy settings are set to private or limited so that only the people that we have approved can see our information. Similarly, we should not seek out information about our clients online because that information is private or irrelevant to our work with that client. Next, demonstrating professional behavior is an excellent way to keep professional boundaries clear. First, we want to establish clear physical boundaries. One of the most effective ways to establish clear boundaries is to let our behavior set the standard for our meetings with our clients. It is important that we do not touch our clients in any inappropriate way. Inappropriate forms of touching might include hugging, caressing, or holding our client's hands. While you might think that these gestures show compassion or care, it is possible that they could make our clients feel uncomfortable. We want to ask ourselves, if there is even the smallest possibility that our client could be harmed by our touching. If the answer to this question is yes, then we need to avoid making physical contact with our clients. Next, we want to make sure that we dress appropriately. Our style of dress will also signal the professional boundaries. The style of dress should be appropriate for our setting with the client and the activity that we have planned. We want to avoid any type of clothing that is revealing. This type of clothing could make our clients feel deeply uncomfortable and could set up an exploitative dynamic between us and the client. We also want to make sure that we use appropriate language. We should avoid using profanity, even if our client often uses it. We should also avoid using any derogatory language, such as insults or slurs, even if our clients use this language. We want to make sure that our language is always appropriate so that our clients know that we are trustworthy and professional. And finally, as I've said before, we want to refrain from discussing our own personal life. We might feel the urge to discuss our personal problems or difficulty in order to relate to our clients, but our clients benefit more from our expertise than from our experiences. When we discuss intimate personal details of our life with our clients, it could confuse our clients about the exact nature of our relationship, and that can cause stress for our clients. And one final way to help maintain our professional boundaries is to nurture our own non-professional life. When our lives are full and satisfying, we're able to focus on service to our clients. When our personal lives become lacking in some aspect or unsatisfying, we may find ourselves in the non-professional position of getting some emotional or personal needs met by our clients, and this need can cause a violation of clear boundaries. The first way to nurture ourselves is to cultivate friendships outside of work. One of the best ways to maintain professional boundaries is to have a clear line between our professional life and our social life. Keep in touch with old friends from high school, college, or other work that you've done. If you are new to a city, try joining volunteer groups, community groups, or community sports organizations. Next, participate in activities that you love. If you enjoy reading, watching movies, taking photos, acting in a community theater, singing in a local choir, then make these activities a robust part of your social life. Try to find a hobby that gives you regular weekly activities. It is not good enough to have something that you enjoy, that you get to do only every once in a while. I truly love playing golf and scuba diving, but I only get to engage in those activities a couple of times per year. That's not enough. I had to find activities that create enjoyment that I could do every day. Having something regularly scheduled outside of work will help you maintain professional boundaries while also reducing stress in your daily life. Next, leave work at the office. Establish clear boundaries for yourself away from the office. Do not check your work email, voicemail, or take business calls when you are at home or on vacation. You can still be an excellent case manager without working 24 hours a day. The field calls this principle work-life balance. While certainly some of our needs are met by the work that we do, we want to assure that we fulfill the majority of our needs outside of work. Family, friends, activities, hobbies, all lead to a full life. The second half of this presentation is about maintaining professional ethics. Professional ethics are at the core of the therapeutic relationship. Codes of ethics help to define professional behavior in 5 major ways. First, codes of ethics should define the core values on which our service is based. Second, The code should define broad ethical principles that reflect these core values and have a set of specific standards that we can use to guide the services we provide. Third, the code of ethics should help us when various responsibilities may be in conflict with one another or ethical uncertainties arise. Fourth, the codes of ethics can be used to educate the public and our clients about what they can expect from our services. Finally, codes of ethics can be used for our profession to assess whether unethical conduct has occurred. Ethical decision-making is a process. In situations when conflicting obligations arise, we may be faced with complex ethical dilemmas that have no simple answers. We need to take into consideration all of the values, principles, and standards in our code of ethics that may be relevant to any situation where ethical judgment is required. A code of ethics cannot guarantee ethical behavior. Moreover, a code of ethics cannot resolve all ethical issues or disputes, or capture the richness and complexity involved in striving to make responsible choices in our work. Rather, a code of ethics sets forth values, principles, and standards to which we should aspire, and by which our actions can be judged. Our ethical behavior should result from our personal commitment to engage in such behavior. Appropriate professional and ethical behavior is typically defined in a number of ways. First, agency policies and procedures will likely define what our work should involve and should define appropriate and inappropriate behaviors in our professional roles. Next, the laws and regulations which govern our activities will also define our work and behaviors within our work that are considered inappropriate and unacceptable. Finally, there are a number of professional organizations that have developed codes of ethics for members of their profession. While there is not a single identified professional organization for case managers, there are a couple of national organizations that certify case managers, and these organizations have developed a set of ethical standards for the case management profession. In the attachments to this lesson, I have provided you with 2 such codes of ethics from case management certifying organizations. Please read through these codes of ethics to gain an understanding of the values, principles, and standards upon which case management is based, and what specifically is defined as unethical behavior for case managers. Additionally, I have provided you with the codes of ethics of 3 widely recognized professional organizations within the human services field, specifically from the American Counseling Association, the National Association of Social Workers, and the American Psychological Association. These are provided for your reference. Before getting into specific principles and ethical standards, it is important to define the role and practice of case management. Case management is a professional and collaborative process. While the case manager is a professional providing a service to a client, the relationship should be one of collaboration. The purpose of case management is to assist the person served in assessing, planning for, and implementing the steps that he or she wants to accomplish to meet the needs that he or she has identified. The case manager also serves in a role of monitoring and evaluating the progress that the individual is making. Our activities as case managers should be limited to our professional role and our level of professional competence. Our competence is typically defined by our education, skills that we have developed, and professional experiences that we have accumulated. Individuals who are new to the profession of case management should not worry. You actually have more competence than you likely give yourself credit for, and you will gain more as you continue in the profession. There are several general principles that underlie ethical practice. The purpose of these principles is to guide and inspire us to the very highest of ethical practice. These principles are the basis for any ethical standards that are developed. The first of these is beneficence and non-maleficence. While those are nice big words, the meaning is fairly straightforward. We should strive to benefit those with whom we work and take care to do no harm. The work that we do as case managers is solely for the benefit of the client, with a goal of improving their health and well-being. With that as our goal, we also need to be aware that certain actions and activities may actually harm our clients, and we have a responsibility to avoid those. Second is fidelity and responsibility. Case managers establish relationships of trust with those with whom we work. In addition to being trustworthy, we also accept the responsibilities that are inherent in our positions. We try to clarify our role as case managers. We accept appropriate responsibility for our behavior, and we seek to manage any conflicts that may arise in a manner that avoids any exploitation or harm to the client. Next is integrity. In all that we do, we strive to be accurate, honest, and truthful. We strive to keep our promises and avoid any unwise or unclear commitments. Integrity is a key dynamic in maintaining the trust of the individuals we serve. Next is justice. We recognize that fairness and justice entitle everyone that we serve to benefit from our services. We take precautions to assure that our personal biases do not affect our services, so that we provide the same level of commitment to all of our clients, regardless of their particular circumstances. And the final principle is respect for the individual's rights and dignity. We respect the dignity and worth of all people, and the rights of all individuals that we serve to privacy, confidentiality, and self-determination. We respect cultural, individual, and role differences, including those based on age, gender identity, race, ethnicity, culture, national origin, religion, sexual orientation, disability, language, and socioeconomic status. We attempt to eliminate any effect on our work of any biases that we may have based on these factors, and we do not knowingly participate in or condone activities of others that are based upon such prejudices. While we are not going to discuss any particular codes of ethics, because these codes vary among agencies and among professional affiliations of staff members, we do want to discuss some general areas that are addressed in nearly all professional codes of ethics within the human services field. The first area that is addressed is the professional relationship with our clients. First and foremost, we have a responsibility to assure that the services that we offer and our behavior in all of our interactions promotes the well-being of the client. We have an ethical responsibility as a professional to undertake actions that support the improved health and well-being of the individuals we serve. Second, we have an ethical responsibility to promote independence and self-determination in the people we serve. At no time should the relationship become one where we are telling our clients what to do. Our services and our behavior should support our clients in deciding what they want to do and then taking steps to do whatever it is they decide. One issue to be aware of regarding this idea is that we need to make sure that we are not engaging in any actions that create a dependency on us. We always want to support our clients in doing what they can do. Next, we want to maintain objectivity. We should not allow the personal situation of the person with whom we are working to affect how we think about or serve that person. When we remain objective, we're able to support the principle of justice and that we are equally committed to serve all who are on our caseload. Next, we want to make sure that we do not impose our values on our clients. Each and every person has his or her own value system. Nothing in the world gives anyone the ability to state that his or her value system is better than someone else's. So we really don't have the right to impose our values on anyone. Instead of using our value system as a frame of reference, it is important for us to understand our clients' value systems so that we can provide services in a culturally sensitive manner. Rather than trying to change our clients' value systems, we need to understand those values and allow them to change how we work with our clients. The final area that is in nearly all codes of ethics addresses dual relationships with our clients. We have a primary responsibility to our clients in the professional role that we have with them. The easiest way to describe this idea is that we should not have any relationship whatsoever with our clients outside of our professional role with them. We should not engage in any type of behavior where we might take advantage of our relationship with our clients. We should not transact any business with our clients, aside from community transactions that are available to anyone and where we do not gain any special treatment. In small communities, this may happen frequently, where you go into a store to buy something and one of your clients is working there and may be helping you. We don't have to leave the store and go somewhere else. We just need to make sure that we only take offers that are available to everyone. While we should be friendly with our clients, we cannot become friends. Friendships are based on give and take, on each person sharing with and caring for the other. It is inherent within our professional relationship with our clients that we are serving them, which is not the basis of a friendship. Additionally, in this area, any relationship besides a professional relationship might be very confusing to our clients. They might be asking themselves, are you telling me this as my case manager or as my friend? Finally, we need to talk about sexual intimacy with our clients and their family members. While it seems that everyone in the human services field knows that there is a prohibition against sexual intimacy with clients, year in and year out, the number one reason that professionals get in trouble with their clients is by developing a sexually intimate relationship with that client. Fully 36% of the ethical violations filed with the American Psychiatric Association were regarding sexual misconduct. Plain and simple, we are prohibited from engaging in sexually intimate relationships with our clients and their family members. Many companies and professional organizations also prohibit sexually intimate relationships with former clients for a number of years. The reason that this prohibition exists is that these relationships are always, let me stress always, harmful to our clients. The second major area of professional ethics concerns privacy and confidentiality. Our first major responsibility is to have knowledge of and then to comply with federal and state confidentiality laws. There are a couple of laws on the federal level that concern confidentiality of substance abuse and mental health treatment records, specifically HIPAA, which is a general law regarding the confidentiality and privacy of medical records, and 42 CFR, which applies specifically to substance abuse treatment. On the state level, confidentiality of mental health treatment records is addressed in Florida Statute 394.4615, and the confidentiality of substance abuse treatment records is addressed in the Department of Children and Families 65D30 regulations. I don't want to go into great detail about these regulations at this point, as there is another training in this series that is specific to confidentiality. We also have a responsibility to notify the individuals that we serve of the confidentiality of the services and their record, but also to notify them of the limits of confidentiality or situations where information might be shared with others without their consent. Again, these limits will be addressed specifically in the confidentiality training in this series. Case management in Florida has a set of regulations that address what must be contained within the clinical record of the person served. Case management regulations are defined in Florida regulations in Chapter 65E15. Additionally, every agency has its own set of policies and procedures regarding clinical documentation. Whether the documentation is maintained in an electronic health record or in a paper chart, we are responsible to maintain those records in accordance with Florida regulations and our agency policies. There are a couple of old sayings in our business, and they apply to record keeping. The first is, if it isn't written down, it didn't happen. And the second is, the job isn't over until the paperwork is done. And again, these records are protected by the confidentiality rules that we'll be discussing in a separate training. Finally, in this area, we have a responsibility to protect the privacy of the individuals that we serve. First, that means we should work with our client based on the information that they give us and the information that is contained in the clinical record. We should not go out on an investigation to learn everything that we can about our clients. We are not police detectives or private investigators. Individuals have a right to privacy regarding their information, including the right to withhold information from us. Also, any information that we request from our clients should be for the purposes of assessment, planning, and intervention, not because we're curious or would like to know. Since case management is a community-based service, we also have a responsibility to protect the privacy of the individuals that we serve while we are providing services. We must always be aware of where we are and who is around. We don't want to be completing an in-depth assessment sitting in a booth at McDonald's. Always respect the privacy of the other as you would want your privacy to be respected. Finally, codes of ethics typically will identify prohibited, unprofessional behavior. While each profession may identify different prohibitions, the behaviors on this slide are nearly universally prohibited. The first is engaging in criminal conduct. While it may be possible that anyone may get a traffic ticket, that's not what we're talking about. What is prohibited is knowingly engaging in a course of behavior that is a violation of either federal or state laws. Florida has a list of offenses that are published by the Department of Children and Families that disqualifies a person from a substance abuse or mental health staff position. You may have had to fill out one when you were applying for your position. The document is called the Attestation of Good Moral Character. This prohibition is not just about not engaging in criminal behavior with your client or engaging in such behavior while working. This prohibition is about engaging in any criminal behavior anywhere in your life. Second on our list is any conduct that involves dishonesty, fraud, deceit, or misrepresentation. While these actions may not rise to the level of criminal behavior, they are nonetheless prohibited. These behaviors refer to our relationships with the individuals we serve and our relationship with the agency with which we are employed. I'll give you an example from my own career. I've worked in the field for many years, and I'm a little older, and although I introduce myself to my clients by my name, they will frequently call me Dr. Wyrick. Whenever that happens, I always correct the person by saying, I prefer to be called Barry, but I want to make sure that you know that I'm not a doctor. I'm a professional counselor. I make this correction because to allow my clients to think that I'm a doctor is a misrepresentation of my credentials. Next is harassment. There are two types of harassment that we need to address: general harassment and sexual harassment. Both general harassment and sexual harassment are defined in law, but sexual harassment goes further and is defined by inappropriate conduct within relationships, including professional relationships. A general definition of harassment is any behavior that demeans, humiliates, or embarrasses a person, and the behavior is not considered either socially or morally reasonable. Texting or calling a person over and over again when the person has indicated that they do not want to be contacted is considered harassment. Making repeated disparaging remarks about someone is considered harassment. Sexual harassment has been defined by the Federal Equal Opportunity Employment Commission for behavior that occurs in the workplace, but the principles apply in all settings. There are two types: hostile work environment and quid pro quo. The simple definition of sexual harassment is unwelcome behavior of a sexual nature or on the basis of gender that is severe and pervasive. It can be verbal, nonverbal, or written. It can be physical or visual. Sexual harassment has a range that goes from making the person uncomfortable all the way up to sexual assault. There is a specific type of sexual harassment that is typically described in a work environment, but which also includes any relationship where one person is perceived to have power over the other person, such as the relationship of a professional with a client. This type of harassment is called quid pro quo, where submitting to the sexual advances is perceived as a condition of continuing the relationship, whether it is an employment relationship or a professional one. This type of sexual harassment is the basis for the previously described prohibition of sexually intimate relationships with our clients, as our clients may perceive the sexual relationship as required for them to continue to receive services. Next on the list is discrimination. Federal and state laws prohibit discrimination based on a large list of personal characteristics. Categories get added to those laws because groups of people have typically experienced discrimination based on these specific characteristics. A better way of thinking about discrimination is that any disparate treatment of any individual based on a characteristic of that individual is discrimination. If we think back to the 5 principles that underlie all ethical conduct, justice is one of them, and we define that as treating all people the same. Next is failing to maintain appropriate boundaries, but we've already discussed this issue in the first half of this training. Next is a violation of confidentiality, and again, we'll address this issue in a separate training. The final thing is impairment. Impairment is best described as anything that is happening in our personal or professional lives that hinders our ability or our competence in performing our work. The things that may impair our work are varied, and they may include compassion fatigue, substance abuse, mental health problems, or any other form of distress associated with daily living. Professionals have a responsibility to monitor their own wellness and their own ability to perform their work, and when we identify an impairment, to take immediate action to correct whatever the impairment is. The final topic that we want to address today is our public presence and public statements, especially as it relates to social media. The general ethical principle is that professionals should be cautious in public statements, as those statements are considered a reflection of both the profession and the employer. With social media, the ease with which we make public statements has been greatly increased, and it is possible that some of our caution has been lessened because of the wide use of social media. Specific to social media, we want to remember that our social media accounts may be public information, and we want to use the privacy settings on those accounts to assure that only those that we want to be able to see the information can actually see it. To maintain ethical practice, no information about any of our clients can be shared on social media, even if we do not share personally identifiable information. We cannot go on a Facebook rant about how terrible our clients are. We're not permitted to maintain any social media relationships with any of our clients. Those relationships would be considered dual relationships, as that relationship is not confined to our professional role with the client. Because we can never be sure who is able to see our social media content, we need to exercise extreme caution in posting any private information. And finally, we also need to be extremely cautious in posting sensitive or controversial information or opinions, again, because these posts are considered a reflection of both our profession and our employer. That's going to do it for this lesson. Please remember to download and review the 2 codes of ethics for case managers that are provided in the lesson media. And when you are comfortable with that material, you must complete the quiz with a passing score of 70 in order to complete this lesson.